So cosine rule to calculate a side. So we're learning a new rule, which is the cosine rule. Last week we looked at the sine rule, which again was angles and sides and triangles. A over sine A equals B over sine B equals C over sine C. And there is a separate rule for when you have slightly different sides and angles involved, and that is when you use the cosine rule. Okay, so what you need is take the heading and you need to copy that rule that's in the grey box into your jotters right now. So the cosine rule is a squared equals b squared plus c squared minus 2 times b times c times the cosine of angle A, right? So the difference between sine and cosine rule, we'll get to this when we do a mix of examples, how to know when to use which one. If you look at this formula, you can see that we have every side in the formula. We have small a, small b, and small c. And we only have one angle, that's angle A. So the cosine rule involves every single side of the triangle, and it only involves one angle. If you remember from when we did the sine rule, you had to have a pair or two pairs. You had to have like an A and a sine A and a B and a sine B, and then you had to have 3 out of 4 of those to use the sine rule. Well, in this case, we only ever have one angle when we use the cosine rule. So that's one of the ways to tell the difference. But we will get onto that, how to tell the difference and how to know which one to use when we go on to our mixed examples tomorrow. But for today, copy that down. So a squared equals b squared plus c squared minus 2bc cos A. Don't have to remember it. This is given to you in the formula sheet. So we should know already A, B and C, small letters, are sides. And then the capital A, B and C are their opposite respective angles. Alright, so I think we should just get started with example 8. So can you copy down this triangle on the right hand side where we have the 21 centimetres along the bottom, 18 centimetres on one side, 40 degrees in between them. And our goal is to calculate side A. Okay, so copy that triangle. Now, we know that we're using cosine rule for this, so there's no kind of way to, you don't need to determine which rule here. But let me just highlight something, which is something I always look for, and I always tell pupils to look for. I have a side, an angle, another side. Those are all quite cosy together. I have a side with an angle sort of cozied in between the two sides. That means I use the cosine rule. Okay, if you ever see an angle cozied in between two side lengths, then you are likely to be using the cosine rule if you're looking for the opposite side. So that may be a way that you can sort of remember which rule to use. But we don't actually need to know that for today. We know that we're using the sine rule. The cosine rule, we just need to put it into place. So we have small a on this side, which means the 40 degrees is capital A. The other two we can call absolutely any one we want, it doesn't matter. Let's call 21B, which would make that top angle capital B, and 18 is going to be C, which makes that capital C. And from here, it's just a case of plugging in numbers and being careful to put it into your calculator properly. So write down the rule with me, please. A squared equals b squared plus c squared minus 2bc cosine of A. Now there's quite a few things to substitute in here. So one of the mistakes people make is they forget to substitute, one of these things in. They forget to substitute the c in most often because they just think the c kind of carries over to the cosine, right? Just really please be careful and make sure that you have substituted in for every single letter here. So it's a squared is going to be equal to 21 squared, and we can put them in brackets, plus 18 squared minus 2 times b, 21, times c, 18, times the cosine of angle A, which is 40 degrees. Okay, so let's talk about how we're going to put this into a calculator. So all of you get your calculator, and if you don't have an actual calculator with you, if you're just using your phone, what you're going to need to do is hit equals after each of these squareds. So put 21 squared equals, plus 18 squared equals, minus 2 times 21 times 18 times cosine of 40 equals. If you have a calculator, you should be able to kind of just copy what you've written down, put 21 squared in a bracket, plus 18 squared in a bracket, and then minus 2 times 21 times 18 times cosine of 40. You should be able to just type it all out in one line and hit equals. In the comments, please, what have you got for your answer? Not our final answer, just what did you get for that bit, please? 21 squared plus 18 squared minus 2 times 21 times 18 times cosine of 40. What are we getting? Right, good, yeah, I'm just trying to make sure we can all type that in okay, and it looks like that's right, yeah. So if you manage to get 185.8704, etc., that means that you can use your calculator okay. So that's good, I just needed to check that. So yeah, so remember, that is a squared still, so that's 185.870401. What we need is not a squared, we need a, so we need to take the square root of the answer. So take the square root of the whole thing. So if you've got a calculator, just leave the number in as your answer, hit the square root of the answer. If you don't have a calculator, just make sure you type out all of the digits, please, all of the decimal places, so that your final answer is as accurate as possible. So the square root of 185.870401, square root of the answer, and that's given me a value of 13.633 ... We can just call that 13.6 to one decimal place. 3 significant figures, one decimal place, the same in this case. 13.6 centimetres. Okay, so really with these questions, what we're doing today is just making sure our calculator work is good. We don't have to make the choice of which of these rules to use. We're going to do that tomorrow. Okay, but if we managed to get that answer 13.6, which I'm sure we did, if we managed to get to the 185, then we can just try the next one. Okay, so let's go for it. So find the size of angle. I'll rub out all this nonsense that's here. Right, draw me that new triangle, please. And we are finding the size of the side labelled B. So, need to again be very, very careful with how you label your triangle. Okay, we're given that side B, which means the opposite angle up the top must be capital B. A and C, it doesn't actually matter which we choose. So why don't we make 24 meters small a, which makes 84 degrees capital A. We can make 13 meters small c, which is going to make 32.6 capital C. Okay, so start with the rule, and then we're just repeating the exact same process. So I'm hoping that this should be okay. So just remember to carefully write down the rule. So it's a squared equals b squared plus c squared. You don't have to remember it, just look at it in the notes in your formula sheet. Minus 2 times B times C times the cosine of A. Now, we have a slight problem here in that the side that we are looking for is not called A, but in our formula, the side that we're looking for is always called A. So we need to slightly rearrange, slightly relabel our labels here. So actually, I'm going to swap my A's and my B's around. So small a is going to become this missing side down here, which means capital A is going to be up the top, which makes 24 is going to turn into small b, and 84 degrees is going to turn into capital B. So we have side B, we have side C, but what we do need in our formula is the corresponding angle to A. So remember, we had to do this a couple of times in the sine rule questions, is that sometimes you actually have to work out what that third angle is. And you're going to have to do that here. So we're going to have to work out what this third angle is first, and then use that for our cosine of A. So if we can quickly do that, A is going to equal 180, take away 84, take away 32.6. For the life of me, I have no idea why that angle down the left is a decimal, but anyway. So 180, take away 84, take away 32.6. Again, you'll have a calculator for this most of the time, so use it. That gives me 63.4 degrees. So now we have the capital A, we can put everything into our formula. Again, just be very careful substituting stuff in. So B is now 24 squared. C is now 13 squared. Minus 2 times B, which is 24, times C, which is 13, times the cosine of A, which is the cosine of 63.4. Put that whole thing into your calculator, then take the square root of the answer. Okay, make sure when you, so get what A squared is first, and then put the whole answer from that first bit into your calculator. So I'm going to do it myself, and I want you to give me your final answer, please. Get A squared, and then get me what A is. So it's going to be the square root of whatever your answer is from that line, then get me your final side A, please. So I want you to do it just now and give me your answer, please, for your final side. Okay, now look at your answer and think, does it make sense? Look at this other side in the triangles. You guys have given me the right answer, but that's you haven't taken the square root yet. So I'm looking for the final answer, please, after the square root. Now look, if you get an answer, your other two sides of your triangles are 24 and 13. Would it make sense that that angle, that side along the bottom is like 400 and something? No. So that means that should trigger something in your head. Oh, I just need to remember to take the square root at the end. Okay, so you guys that gave me 400 something, that's correct for the first bit. You just need to then take the square root of it, please. So always look at your answer, look at the diagram, look at the triangle, think, does that make sense? Does that look about right? Are the numbers roughly the same? If it's way out, then you've probably forgotten to take the square root. So yeah, you guys are getting the same as me, which is 21.577276. This gave you 400, when you typed in this full first line, it's 465.59, etc. So when you took the square root of that, sorry, my tablet is really struggling to cope for some reason, you get an answer of 21.57. Come on, son. Come on. Not had a good day. I did this morning, didn't have my tablet plugged in. I was midway through an example and my call completely died and my tablet turned off. So that was good. Good start to the day. And now it's struggling to cope with just me writing. So 21.57, which, yep, some of you rounded to one decimal place, which we should maybe do, which is 21.6. And that is meters. So well done if you got that answer. Just remember, if your answer is like way out from the other sides, then it is likely that you just haven't square rooted at the end. Okay, but well done everyone that got those answers. That's really good. Right, I don't want to waste any more of your time for this period. You have 25 minutes of the double to practice some of this on your own. Okay, so just using cosine rule to find a side. Now it is the Unit 4 booklet, and it is just again the next page on from, the next page on from where we did last time. It is page number why is everything deciding not to work today? Right, it's page 30-ish. Now my booklet is stopped working. It's the page which says using the cosine rule to find a side. So page number 30